Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. We hope your stockings are hung by the chimney with care, because this week we're covering the new animated Christmas special, Merry Little Batman, on Prime Video. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's got a mouthful of marshmallows, sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
I really do.
And he, too, has donut crumbs in his beard, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and that's not a bat mite, that's a little Damien.
Oh man. Today we are talking Merry Little Batman. It is available on Prime Video. Feature length, this bad boy. I did not know how long this was going to be when this thing started. I got to be quite honest with you.
I think it's still going.
It may still be going.
Yeah.
If you can hear on to this day, the Merry Little Batman was still going on Prime Video, and it won't go away. But we hope you haven't gone away, and we'll continue to support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. We're talking all kinds of holiday glory and fun over there in the Dinger Zone. Why don't you join us? Join us, for heaven's sake. We love you and we appreciate you, and we love all of you guys for doing that. Seriously, it is it's an amazing thing. This entire year, we always go by. We thank you guys every episode, but it truly is awesome that you guys every month just say, "Hey, I really like you guys." We put in a dollar form, you send it our way, and we just want to say thank you. Thank you to all those that do that. And if you can't do that, for heaven's sake, at least just drop over to the iTunes, give us a 5-star review, aka humdinger.
Humdinger.
And, that'd be your little Christmas gift to us. Remember, my like I said, we are in the Christmas season here. It is time to grab Nana's cell phone, go over to that iTunes store or Spotify, whatever Grandma uses, and go ahead and just hit that 5 stars, write a little review, says, "I stole my grandma's phone," bloop, and then we'll read it on the show in the new year. So that's part of your assignment. So get on that, everybody. Let's get into it. Here's the IMDb plot line for Merry Little Batman. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Little Damian Wayne confronts enemies in his city after finding himself alone in Wayne Manor. That's as much as you get there. This is directed by Mike Roth, who did Care Bears, Care-a-Lot, Phineas and Ferb, and The Regular Show, written by Morgan Evans, who wrote for Best Week Ever, several episodes of Teen Titan Go, and holiday stalwart Jingle Ballin'. That's right, you all know that one. And we also have J.C. Ritchie, who did some TMT episodes in the 90s. Tangled, Slow Down is the direct-to-video version, not the real one. DC Superhero Girls, Batman, The Doom That Came to Gotham, and a couple more things and stuff. I had no idea this was a thing. Have you? Anyone?
No.
It's totally new to me.
I had never heard of it until you brought it up the other day.
The weird thing is how I found out about this was one of the actors who was in this. I couldn't even tell you which one. But was like outside of a Warner Brothers studio, because you know what the little Warner Brothers backlot looks like back there. If you've ever seen an episode of Animaniacs or Pee-wee's Big Adventure, you know what all that looks like. But there's one that's got this big giant, Merry Little Batman advertisement on. They go, "Hey, look, they got a little advertisement for our movie that's coming up on Prime this Tuesday." And we're like, "Okay, I've never heard of this before." And you go there, and sure enough, we have a 90-minute Batman animated holiday special.
Yeah.
Yeah. We sure do.
Well, if Bruce's excitement didn't sell you, let me sell everybody on this animated Batman Christmas special, because this sucker's got everything. We got a flying bat with a Santa hat, an art style you're either going to love or hate, or maybe you'll think it's just okay. Thanks, Mitch. It's a bit of a Ren and Stimpy art vibe. Alfred more decrepit and scary than ever before, but still kind of cute, but not as cute as Damian Wayne, who's cuter than he's ever been. Batman is Luke Wilson, y'all. I mean, I guess at least it wasn't Owen Wilson, that wouldn't work. I am the knight, no good. In this world, Batman abolished all crime in Gotham. Disgusting food, a Sean favorite, I'm sure. A utility belt with bandages, a phone call from the Justice League. The best line in the movie is Alfred screaming, "My good hip!" Hot cocoa making, marshmallow eating, oi to the world, a highlight for me. How do you know who the villains are in this movie? How about the people who are blue that drive an ice cream van that torture a cute interracial couple just for fun? This is programming for children, by the way. A library scene, and by the way, isn't it ironic how if I ever won like the super mega ultra lottery, had that Bruce Wayne money, that I absolutely would have a giant library like this? Will I have read any of the books? Don't be absurd, but A giant wooden library,
It'd be
ladders
filled
and
with
all.
Blu-rays. Come on.
Awesome. Best Batcave intro ever, maybe. Having the Ick Talk be a video, or the talk via video. A Little John Christmas song, high octane Batmobile, the Bat Cycle. The Joker shows up wearing the Killing Joke hat. Poison Ivy, Santa. Bane gets chopped in the nuggets, hitting every limb on the way down. A grosser penguin than Danny DeVito, maybe. Parade disaster. I should learn how to read. The Wilhelm scream, lazy Commissioner Gordon. All of a sudden, Demon shows up and it turns into Sin City. Sammy Davis Jr. and Axis Chemicals, well, them naturally, of course, and giving out gifts willy-nilly after you've saved the day. This movie has everything.
Mostly.
So the one of the glaring things about this movie to me, this cartoon to me, is twofold. One is that the character of Damien, when done correctly, and usually there's only, for some reason, there's only one guy who can write him correctly, Grant Morrison.
Yes, I was hoping that was going to be who you said, or else it would have been weird.
and that character is a prick, but the you can't have that in this because Damien is the main character and he's got to be a cute little kid, right? And that's fine. Like, I don't know how you feel about it, Bruce, but like, it's fine by me if you want to change around the dynamics. That's totally fine. But because of that, they have to make Bruce Wayne different. And I was surprised by how much I enjoyed just how different Batman is at the beginning of this show.
Oh, really?
Well, because one of the problems I've been having with the Batman character lately is as I'm getting older and as I'm getting more, there's certain things I just let pass and some things I don't. One of the things that for some reason I'm not letting pass is like, well, who gave you the keys to the kingdom where you're able to beat the crap out of people? Like, you're Batman. Like, you're some guy, you're a rich guy who thinks that you know what's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are you? And yes, it so happens that Batman does go after the right people, but he doesn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes he just sees a guy in a mask and he's like, oh, I'm going to punch that guy in the face.
It is core. Sometimes it does come across like a billionaire defending capitalism. Like,
it really is that and so I've been finding that I'm having issue with the Batman character lately, but weirdly not so with Superman. Anyway, so the that has been my issue. So when we're dropped into this show and you see that, oh, he's taken out all crime in Gotham, and so now it's just him hanging out with his son. And there's something fun about that. There's something different, and there's something really cool about that to me. And so I was like, oh, this is starting out on the right foot.
And like, sweet and endearing at the same time, because it's something that, from a storytelling aspect has always been a thing that could have been possible. But it's taken a child's show to just be like, you know what? Maybe Dad could clear up some stuff. But that's also what's really cool is that it shows you that ultimately that was his kind of goal. His I knew that this kid's coming and I want to make sure that this kid's got a bright future and everything, and that bright future can't include all of this crime in Gotham.
Let's talk about this art style. Like, I feel like we got to get this out of the way before we can go on with anything else on the movie, because that is what's going to make or break it for most folks. That you're either going to watch it or you're going to turn it off really quickly based on if you like the art style, or at least if you are willing to give the art style a chance. And for the folks who haven't watched this, describing it could be interesting. Now, I want to start with Alfred, because he's the one that looks to me like a mix between Gary Larson, like Gary Larson would draw the people with those weird, large bodies, but the face is almost like Mad Magazine.
Well, it's Phineas and Ferb, right? I mean, that's the art style.
No, Phineas and Ferb has clean lines. This has a lot of not so clean lines.
What it kind of reminded me a lot. Well, yeah, it is a little bit. It's a lot dirtier than Phineas and Ferb is.
And the kids almost, some of the characters seem like they were drawn by Scotty Young, but then some of them seem like it's Gary Larson, or I also thought, that Alfred kind of looks like Henry Kissinger, who had this weird, like, bulbous body and little head.
I can see that. Yeah, it is. It's weird. It's bizarre. Like, I also kind of liken it to like the Duckula, like Count Duckula that we watched, because with the backgrounds and everything, like it's so interesting and weird. Like, it's got so many weird inspirations that are going into it that, like, if you just drew these characters out, you'd be like, what in the wide world of sports are we putting together for people?
So,
Because
yeah,
everything's so bizarre looking, but it somehow works.
My 2 bits on this artwork is basically this, is that for a one-off kind of a thing, this is totally fine. It's not something that I'm ever going to watch again. And if this somehow like spawns into a series, which I can't see that happening, but if it did, I'm not going to watch that series. But for a one-off thing, it's cool.
They're planning like another movie called The Bat Family that's going to be in this style. It's kind of inspired by this.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's what I read. And,
Wow.
I can't believe everything you read, but that's what I read. But to me, I would describe this as like really good cake icing, which, no matter how delicious the cake icing is, I personally don't want to eat a salad bowl full of it. So, like, I would have liked this as a 15-minute short a lot better than a 90-minute movie.
Without a doubt.
I mean, even 45 minutes probably would have been better.
In fact, I'll say that I'll have to just confess I watched this in 3 sittings so that it felt like I was watching 3 episodes of Tiny Toons or something.
That's a way better way to do it, because one of the things that I noticed about this is that my brain is conditioned to watch Batman based on the animated series Batman. And so when it kept going, I was like, oh boy. And I should have done what you did, where I watched it in 3 viewings. Instead, I was on my phone for like 75% of watching this.
And it's not quite an anthology, but it does have clear movements. Like, there's the adventures of Damien doing his Home Alone thing when the burglars break in. Then there's kind of like Damien going to the Joker, and then there's Damien saving the city. So it does kind of have 3 acts, a 3-act structure, but they almost work like 3 episodes.
And
so
you probably could have done that in like 3 parts, or like put out one out a year or something like that, and had like a fun little tradition thing or whatever. I don't know, but like,
put this as like a short before, like, break it up into smaller chunks. Like I said, like 15-minute chunks, and put it as a short before some Warner Brothers movies, the way Pixar puts shorts in front of their stuff. That might have been more interesting.
Wouldn't this be
That's way
hilarious?
too smart. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, you should put this right.
AT&T knows what they're doing now that Discovery's running things.
Just put this like right before the Dark Knight.
I mean, AT&T, Discover, Warner Brothers, yet it's on Amazon Prime. I have no idea how things work anymore.
Dude, nobody does. There are things that are going off of HBO that are landing on Tubi.
I'm telling you, that is the future. Ad-supported revenue is going to end up being steadier. Like,
yeah, we're going back to the television, but
it's
on Tubi, kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what to pay somebody. If they watch the ad during your show, you get your cut, just like on YouTube.
Mhm.
But on Netflix, they have no idea how to break up the subscription per minutes watched or whatever.
And this show should cost $1 billion. Why? I don't know.
Because it's based on a Mark Millar independent comic nobody read.
Yes. We bought the rights to it, though. We bought the rights early. So, yeah, there you go.
Saturn's Flatulence. That's our next series.
Listen, don't give them ideas. But Batman is like we see a different side of Batman than we ever have before. And again, I think it's very interesting casting Luke Wilson as the voice of Batman.
I think that he does a great job.
I do
really
too.
do. And I think that this show needed someone who could carry it like Luke Wilson does. I don't think he can carry it for 90 minutes, but he does carry it when he's able to.
I like Luke Wilson. I don't know if that I've run across him in voice acting roles. Not that he hasn't done them. Maybe I just haven't run across them. But it's like when I first saw Toy Story, that was kind of the first time for me when celebrities were doing animation voicing. At least celebrities I recognized. And it was so hard for me to not hear Tim the Toolman Taylor and Tom Hanks, when they're talking.
Yeah.
And then, but with time, you get used to celebrity casting, or maybe I just get older and don't care anymore. So it's starting to smooth over. But then with Luke Wilson, it was like that flashback where I'm not hearing Batman, I'm hearing Luke Wilson. And I'm thinking of like Rushmore for some reason.
Huh.
Not that it's a bad thing. It was just jarring to me. He does a great job, but it's just such a recognizable voice.
Like I said, at least it's not Owen. If it was Owen, it'd be so much more identifiable and different that you'd be like, all right, I'm completely thrown out of this here. Blonde surfer Batman is
like Tim Daly as Superman. I can handle that kind of celebrity voice casting.
Well, because he's not really like, what's in your head when you think Tim Daly? Like, I can't think of anything.
Good looking vanilla
wings.
man. That's
Yeah,
it.
I was going to say all I can think about is that made for TV Shining that Mick Garris directed.
No, that's Steven
That's
Weber.
the other one.
See, that's how little I know about this guy.
Steven Weber, though's got personality.
You mean they're different people?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was one guy in two roles.
No, it's I see.
I'm just trying to cover up my insanity.
This Monk guy, I tell you.
Oh, I do like that Monk guy.
Monk, will you ever win?
I don't think so. He's like the Ziggy of detective shows. Bruce Wayne Batman has had or Batman really specifically has had an amazing silhouette for so long. And this show's silhouette of Batman is the silliest thing I've ever seen in my entire life with the giant chin, but
And the
somehow
beard.
I just love it.
The weird lumberjack beard that pops out of the cowl, like that's not going to be a dead giveaway.
I don't know why, but it kept reminding me of the Breyfogle Batman run in the 90s, where like the cape starts getting really ridiculous.
Yes, I ran across some of those one time, and I said, "Wow, I can't believe I really used to think this was cool."
Right, and you see him more and more in shadow than you do like up close, and there's a lot of that stuff happening. It's a whole lot more gothic than what
he looks more ghoulish than superheroic.
Yes. And it kept reminding me of that just because of how crazy his silhouette looks in the show. Because I can remember specifically with Breyfogle Batman being like, so where does this end? Because then after that, like Sam Keith got a hold of him, and I know a lot of people love Sam Keith. I could never stand his artwork, and so I was like, okay, so there's going to be somebody even crazier than Sam Keith, I guess, next. But no.
They started to course correct, but I remember the ears on the cow getting so long and skinny they were almost like antennae.
Right, and to the point where they even incorporated it into the comic, where it was like, oh, I have these ears so long because this is where I put my listening devices or whatever.
Yeah.
No thanks.
But this is a tough one to talk about because Damian is in it, but he's not being Damian. Like in any way that we know Damian, he's not being Robin. And when I just saw the cover art and I didn't read any kind of synopsis or anything, and I just saw, Merry Little Batman, and I thought it was going to be a Batmite story, which would be kind of cool if Batmite comes and tries to give Batman the perfect Christmas, but he just keeps screwing things up more and more, like Batmite does. I could get really into a Batmite Christmas movie, I think, but Damian isn't as interesting to me, I guess.
I'd like to think the Warner Brothers executives downloaded this podcast and are listening to it right now going, I told you Batmite was the way to go.
Oh, that would mean that they care about the quality of their product, which they don't.
That's a fair point.
That would even give an excuse for the way the art looks. Like you could start it like your traditional boring Warner Brothers direct to video Justice League artwork, and when Batmite shows up, he snaps his fingers and it turns into this. Then I would have been all in.
It gets all wonky, and they're like, "Oh no, that's what we designed it to be." Weird. Speaking of weird,
I think if you're going this far off of the beaten path with your characters, you shouldn't. You should go with a villain that we don't see a lot.
Yeah,
like you were saying with Batmite, like I think that's correct. But if you're going to continue walking around in this part of the Bat universe, let's start seeing some villains that we don't see very often, because who cares?
Now I'll tell you, and you're going to think it's just Bruce being Bruce here, Sean, or it's me being my ridiculous stuff. But this was a really good. I think it might have been written by Mark Russell, but there was a really good Christmas one shot pre-COVID, so like 4 or 5 years ago, that was like Detective Chimp comes to Gotham City to try to find something for Santa, and he has to work with Batman, and then at the end it's like Rudolph that he was looking for. in this art form with Detective Chimp and go like if they had made a Christmas movie version of that one-shot comic, I think I would have really bought into it and this art style would have worked. Like just Damien is not the right character to put this art style and this storyline around. One of my favorite characters is Damien, and I think that's why this rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, and you're right about that. You know, I'm willing to give the Damien thing a pass because you need it to be his real kid.
Yeah.
In order for him to have cleaned up Gotham plot wise, like it makes a hell of a lot more sense to do that than it would like, oh, hey, I found this kid who's a computer hacker who's going to be my new Robin, and I'm going to clean up the city for him. Like that doesn't really work, right?
Yeah.
And so to have you kind of sort of need it to be Damien or just another character altogether that isn't Damien. But I can't imagine if you're going for Bruce Wayne's kid and there's already a Bruce Wayne's kid, then why use someone else, you know?
I totally get it.
One of the things that I liked about
I guess I'm sorry, but to come back to what you were saying, Sean, I guess at the end of the day, I say, well, then you just don't make this particular story.
I agree. I mean, ultimately, that is where I land. Like, we don't need this. Although, because I can't imagine some little kid, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I can't imagine some little kid sitting down to watch this, and this is their first Batman thing that they've seen. I just can't imagine it.
And it's not like Batman. You know, there are some characters, like they totally will recreate a character to help it find an audience or find a following or speak to an underserved crowd. But it's not like they're still trying to figure out how do we make this Batman character resonate with people. I mean, this is not there's so many other stories. You could tell the same story from a lot of different perspectives.
But I think what they're doing is they're trying to make it more the Damien show. But like, and here's the thing. I think if you're like one of those executive people or something, they're like, they see all that and they're like, oh, that feels like that's a little problematic. This child's going around killing all these people. That's a little rough. How about we make him cute and adorable?
That's, I guess, a decision.
Yeah.
I mean, but at least for a Christmas thing, it works. But like, I think you're right.
Next
but maybe
year it's
we
Kid
could
Rorschach. I just can't wait till they make Rorschach lovable.
Kid Rorschach. Listen, there'd be something about that could kind of be hilarious. And
Watchmen Babies and V for Vacation.
It's just called Herm.
At the same time, that's what we got to make it cool. I think just do all that. I'm for that.
And this is the first time in a long time I'm really wondering how we're going to fill the episode talking about this.
Let's talk about a couple things. I like I said, I think one of the interesting, just like tiny little things that they don't have to do, but they did, in the show and everything is Damien. He has a different skin color than Bruce because Talia is a different, it is a different race. So this child would have a slightly darker skin tone, and that was represented in the show, and I thought that was nice.
What race is Al Ghul?
I don't know. It's some sort. It's comic books.
Liam Neeson didn't look like he was that different.
Well, Liam Neeson. Well, and that's
spoiler if you haven't seen Batman. But geez, I've just turned off half our audience.
We already reviewed that
20-year-old movie. Everybody,
we already reviewed that one, so that's fine. They need to go back in the archives and listen.
I always felt like in the comics, Ra's al Ghul was just a Vincent Price type, So I never even thought about the idea, but yeah, Damien probably would be more like from the cradle of civilization.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting, and then I was like, okay, cool, very, very, very nice of them to do that. They could have just made him look like everybody else, but I thought that was cool. But let's talk about like the other kind of designs and stuff because obviously we talked about Alfred looking like just hell on wheels. And by the way, James Cromwell with the voice. Who knew James Cromwell was still doing anything?
Now I understand the character design.
Yeah, he looks like James Cromwell. Yeah. Sorry, James, but this is a fact. By the way,
it's not like it's any worse than me, James.
Wasn't James Cromwell super gluing his hand to a counter in a Starbucks on account of they were like charging extra for like vegan milk or some such?
I certainly hope so.
I swear to you, I'm pretty sure that's true.
That is an idea for a short film right there.
He's like,
why isn't that your Christmas movie, Warner Brothers?
But sounds like a little bit like Babe 3 to me.
Oh,
Babe
wait.
3, vegan milk extravaganza.
James Cromwell can't push up the extra 75 cents it is to go up to almond milk or something, and he's pissed. So he's like, I'm gonna super glue my hand to this table in a Starbucks, no less. It's not like it's sitting. Oh my god,
Old man flesh is awfully thin. I mean, just it's easier to get off than Velcro.
ugh. Get the putty knife. We gotta get James off of the thing so he can go do another Batman animated cartoon.
I like the idea that they had to bring in a recording kit to the Starbucks because he wouldn't leave.
The Joker design, again, we're always gonna get new and interesting Jokers. This feels like we're kind of combining 16 different types, which again I'm kind of okay with.
This movie, watching it, because I had to find things to think about in a positive way. When the Joker comes on, I just thought about how he is, in my opinion, my humble one guy's opinion, such a cool villain, because he should not work. He shouldn't be intimidating. He shouldn't be the greatest DC villain, and for a while the greatest, most recognizable villain from comics, because he's nothing but a crazy guy. Like, that's it. He's not a genius like Doom. He's not all powerful. He's, there's so many other characters that kind of make more sense in a way, but there's something about the Joker that always works, and he works in both kid form and in the Killing Joke form and in the crazy not Zack Snyder, but the other Snyder, the actual comic book writer Snyder, where he peels off his own face and safety pins it back on. I mean, he works in every extreme. He works as George Romero, he works as Heath Ledger. And you know what? As unpopular of an opinion as it might be, I thought that they weren't that far out of bounds experimenting with him with Jared Leto. So I just think the Joker is a really cool, interesting villain. I can't figure out what makes him so great, but he probably is the greatest comic book villain.
I think I agree with that statement.
Yeah, I do too. He's also the one character that, if you are reading it, especially if you're a disenfranchised teen, which is what I was, where you can totally see being like, a couple bad days, I could be the Joker. It's pretty close.
It was merely a lack of resources or creativity on my part.
I was, one of my favorite things about the Joker was just always that, because it was the insanity of it all. That means that you could just, you're not dealing with somebody who's on the line here and everything. But oddly enough, he always had a backup plan. There was always one way or the other for him to weasel himself out of a particular situation. So while he was that's, again, the most scary thing is crazy and smart.
The freedom of his willingness to die was always appealing too. Like there's no plan. Like he is prepared to pay the final price at any moment. And he just keeps going.
And it's because he goes in so haphazardly and doesn't really care that for some reason is like his armor. It bulletproofs him because he doesn't care. That's how he's not going to die.
And it's like, because bats don't kill, he's found his perfect adversary, because he doesn't have to defeat Batman. He just has to defeat the guards at Arkham. And it's just this cycle.
Speaking of defeating Batman, could Batman have been any dumber in falling for what one might consider the oldest trick in the book or something? They send out a distress signal, be like, "Hey, by the way, the Justice League they're all finished. Everybody's busy. We need you specifically to go up to the Arctic to help rescue some stuff." He gets up there, and of course, it's nothing. He's been lured away. But don't you have to feel bad if you're the villains of Gotham to just go "Wait a minute. All we had to do was place a phone call, and we could have got this dude out of here this fast."
It's kind of like, how do you clean up Gotham, but you still have wannabe villains? Like, you haven't cleaned up Gotham, you just hit the pause button.
That is true, because that's a good point. We've cleaned up Gotham, but yet still all of it's his rogues gallery, all of the top members are out and about.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they be in jail at this point? We didn't hear about any Arkham breakout, I don't believe.
Yeah, but you don't need a breakout, because he thinks that they're not doing crime anymore. They're just buying their time till he goes on vacation.
Good citizens, those criminals. They wait till you go on vacation before they start their criming.
And if you got Gotham cleaned up, why don't you franchise out to some other cities? I don't know. I feel like I don't know. There was something about that aspect of the story that didn't make sense. But then again, this isn't
Yeah,
aiming to be like an
where's
Alan
the
Moore
Detroit
opus.
Batman at this point? It's just like he's got to hire another one to put him out
Oh
in all
man,
the major
did you guys
cities.
ever read Batman Inc? That was another great Grant Morrison run where he did franchise out Batman to other
Yeah.
cities.
Oh, I heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool story. I do like it. I think that if you're gonna, it feels like one of those stories that they're eventually going to do somewhere else because it's such a unique, interesting story.
Yeah.
And I think this is the way to do it with a cartoon.
Oh well, yeah. I think you're right on that. I don't know if I would do this type of cartoon though.
Well, no, I wouldn't recommend doing this style cartoon again. But I think that there's like a you know there's an experimentation that you can totally get away with that you're probably not going to get any negative feedback on if you're using Batman Inc. Batman.
Mm-hmm.
What about just to back up a little bit when we said maybe a less known villain? I think Crazy Quilt would have actually worked in this story.
I think any one of those Adam West Batman villains that
the idea is
dopey. Work.
Batman's cleaned up the city, but some of these villains are so low threat level he doesn't even consider them to need cleaning. And that's
Right.
the people who would come out when he's out of town.
Right.
And you're right, and it would have been more interesting from that perspective because, like, while we do have characters that we recognize with interesting art takes on them, like Poison Ivy looking like Eartha Kitt for some reason, not sure why that is, but at least with they try something. They're trying something. I don't know that it always succeeds what they're doing, but at least they're taking swings. It feels like.
I find it very hard to dislike or hate this thing. I don't because they are taking such crazy swings with stuff and they're taking a lot of chances. It's just for me the chances they're taking. It makes for a pretty dull watch, especially at the running time. The running time is truly the Achilles heel of this thing.
And I think they're taking quote unquote safe chances. They're not taking chances like the animated Harley Quinn show took.
Right.
Well, because
it's totally different.
Because think about this, right? We've got the character of Damian Wayne who is like, the little assassin and everything. He's a nut job. And we have what is essentially a Home Alone ripoff in this thing. And it's just like, why don't we lean on to that kind of stuff and really just nuke them? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If this was a Home Alone ripoff starring Damian Wayne, and this was the whole 82 minutes, we don't need to go full 90.
It's like it tried. Yeah.
Yes. I think I would have really gotten into it. Plus, you get to show some of the real Damian coming out towards the end of this Home Alone thing. I would have liked that. In fact, I thought, this is what it's going to be. It's Home Alone with Damian. Yeah, it's derivative, but I can enjoy derivative.
But you could also get like the nice thing of like, like at the the little lesson at the end of like I tried to create a crime-free Gotham and everything for you, so you didn't have to do this kind of thing. You could put some sort of moral lesson or something in there, but have him do a little, sure, Dad, I'll be a good boy and wink in the back or whatever.
I think you do a Home Alone thing. Damian defeats the home invaders. Then at the end, Bruce Wayne tells Alfred, "This was the best gift you've ever given Damian."
There you go.
And it was all an inside job just so Damian could feel like a hero since he won't ever have to go out there and be Robin. He got to defend his home. He stays in the paper bag mask the whole time. He never goes to the Batcave and gets the utility belt. And then, like I said, you get the reveal at the end. That almost feels like a Jeff Johns story, and I would have been behind that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. You know what Robin story I'm thinking of? I can't remember. It's a Tim Drake mini, but I can't remember if it's the first Robin miniseries or the second Robin miniseries, but it's the one where Bruce is out of town and Tim has to stop the Joker.
Ouch, that's tough.
It's really great. That it's like 5-6 issues. I can't really remember. It's so long ago now.
I haven't read that one.
It's a really fun story because basically the entire story is Robin smart enough to be able to stop the Joker on his own, and that's what the entire miniseries is about, and it makes for a really interesting read because Sometimes the answer is no. And it's pretty great. And he has all these great little moments with Alfred where he's like, I don't trust that guy. I think he's down with our enemies.
Oh,
And
wow.
and Alfred goes, who's Alfred says back to him, down with? And Robin says back to him, it means in cahoots.
I love it.
Oh, well, why did you just say that then?
and I think about that so often when it comes to to me it's the definitive Tim Drake story, even more so than his dad dying and all that. I think that that's the best Tim Drake story there is. And basically what I'm trying to get around to is, if you had something as interesting as that as what this is, I think you can make that 90 minutes. But what they're doing here, like you were saying, Bruce, at the top of the show, is that they're kind of banging around like, okay, let's go to this thing now. Okay, that's done. Let's go to this thing now. It's almost like a 3-tiered story.
Yeah, we had 3 episodes of television, but they were just like, who is asking for 3 episodes of television? Make it a 90-minute movie.
Right.
It's like, okay.
I don't know who it is that did like the talk, kind of like the equivalent of a TED talk about storytelling. It's pretty famous. I say famous. It's a video that's been shared, and it's somebody who knows a little bit of storytelling. Once again, can't remember who it is. It might actually be Trey Parker, Matt Stone of all people. But they say your story is broken if you write the plot outline. Damien stops the home invasion, and then he goes out into the city, and then he fights the Joker.
That's Matt Stone and
Yeah,
Trey Parker.
yeah, that's the South Park boys.
Because it has to be therefore or because of or
Yes.
but instead, and this has a lot of and then, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with myself, who's remembering almost nothing lately, that I remembered who to attribute that to.
He got around to it. It's pretty deep, pretty good. Sean, what I touched on it in my little bits there and everything, but I got to get your thoughts on the disgusting food.
Quit touching your little bits, Adam.
Listen, I do what I do.
It's fine. It's fine.
Hey, we're gonna have green Jello with like tiny little salmon pieces or some such nonsense.
Well, what he's talking about is eel, whatever it's called. It's the British eel thing.
Yeah,
Jellied eel.
Oh boy, you guys, I don't know what you're eating over there in that country, but it ain't normal.
Well, no, look, I would say to you that probably 90% of British people don't eat that anymore.
Hey, I heard some words of wisdom once. In heaven, you have French cooks and British bureaucrats, but in hell, you have British cooks and French bureaucrats. So
hey, that's
I take
pretty
that
good.
to heart.
That's pretty good.
More beans, governor. Oh, Jesus. Yet again with the beans. Yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, Penguin's just gross and disgusting. I like how we just keep pushing that envelope of just like, how can we repulse everyone with a single character? Let's just make Oswald Cobblepot just the grossest thing. I love it so much.
Yeah, but and the art style's kind of gross, I mean,
yeah.
It's just it lends itself to a little bit of grossness. If
Yeah.
you saw somebody picking their nose and there's like stretchy green fluid between their nose and their finger, that fits right in his art style.
Yeah,
it does.
Your Mad Magazine meets Ren and Stimpy kind of vibe.
Yep.
All that in there.
Man, they can make a banger Mad Balls cartoon.
Oh, I would watch that.
That would be pretty sweet. All right, before we get to our final review, we have to ask ourselves how this animated Batman Christmas special could possibly relate back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement. I am the knight, Mr. Stallone. Today's Stallone connection comes courtesy of bassoonist Rose Corrigan. She played bassoon on the soundtrack for Merry Little Batman, and she played bassoonist on the soundtrack for The Suicide Squad. She has over 82 credits on her IMDb, and her first job was Tim Burton's Batman Returns. Yowza! But to me, her biggest, most well-known bassoon lick is The Mandalorian. Yes, she was the bassoon player on The Mandalorian. That's like the world's greatest bassoon job ever.
Yeah.
Everyone who's ever watched that show knows the bassoon lick in The Mandalorian. I know next to nothing about music, and even I know that bassoon lick. Rose Corrigan is currently the principal bassoonist for the Pasadena Symphony and the Pops. And she's such a big deal, she got name dropped on r/bassoon.
Oh, man.
I didn't know there was a subreddit for bassoonists, but here we all are. If I can get real for a second, I thought this would be an amazing avenue to go down, a bassoonist as the Stallone connection. But the truth of the matter is, I find myself having very little to say. And that's your Stallone connection this week. Bassoonist Rose Corrigan. I hope to hear from you soon. Your pal, Sweet Shawnzy, the Hartford Hellion.
I hope to hear from you bassoon.
I hate your guts so much. Oh, God.
You that was awful, and you should feel bad.
Oh, man. Everyone's tuned out now. All right, everybody, let's get down to it here at HMP. We got in our own patented Robin rating system. Bruce, we've heard your crows of joy and delight. What do you rate Merry Little Batman on the Robin
I
rating
think some
system?
of my grumbling and groaning are just like personal internal things. I'm not going to judge it too harshly. And considering the subject matter, I think that the rating of Damian Wayne fits it really well, because there's some people that are going to just be into the art, and I might be into the art if it were in print and not in animation. So some people are going to like this. Some people are going to turn it off before they get to the 20-minute mark. And Damian Wayne is like the rating I like to use for those things that kind of split the crowd.
It is right in the middle for a reason. Shawnee?
Yeah, I believe the same thing that Bruce said. But for me, it's a little lower than that. I'm giving it a low Damian Wayne. I think that you could like this art style and still be bored out of your skull with the plot of this show.
Yeah.
Because I was fine with the art. My issue is with the runtime and how slow this show gets. I mean, it moves the speed of molasses at some points, especially like in the middle, where you're just like, holy cow, I cannot believe how long this thing is. So for me, it's a low Damian Wayne.
Yeah, if you're not ready for it, it can hit you. Like the first time I tried to watch, I think I got like, 10 minutes in, and now I was also quite tired through several other reasons and stuff. But I was just like, nope, nighty night. So like it's got to catch your attention right off the bat, and it doesn't quite. It does that for a hot second, but again, you're in it so long. By the time that you're chasing around the house for the 15th time, and you're just like, okay. All right. What are we moving on to the next thing? If this had been, a 45-minute deal, I think it might have been really fun. Or if we, like you said, we go off into different avenues that we know about the character. Like I said, like lean in more to that. These criminals are breaking in, and Damian's going to home alone them and everything. Or I like Bruce's, that Alfred has hired these people again because there is no crime. He's hired these people in order to, get him the superhero stuff he's been looking for, but is not quite ready for yet.
And I think the biggest crime of the movie is I don't know that it ever left anybody with a feeling of that Christmas spirit. It doesn't feel particularly Christmassy.
No, it doesn't.
No, this definitely falls under the Christmas just happens to be taking place in the movie, and Christmas is not necessarily quintessential to the story altogether, which is what I define a Christmas movie as. Is like, if Christmas isn't happening, Die Hard doesn't happen because he's not flying to LA. So
right.
But if you took Christmas out of this, it doesn't really matter. It's the same story. Just like it's winter. That's about as close as we got. We're doing winter. That's fine. Winter, Christmas. Just throw it in there. We can sell it on Amazon during the Christmas season, because that makes sense. Well, that'll do it for this episode of HMP. Little light, but again, this was a rather light episode in as much as what we watched. Because
we're coming back with a vengeance with the next one. I promise you.
Don't worry. Yeah, the next one.
It will be so long.
Because next week we're going to talk about that in just a second. Bruce, plug something.
I am so excited to have this thing to plug because, I've very proud of Werewolf Fighter, this 38 minutes with credits, 38-minute movie that I've been working on it for months.
And if people have been following on patreon.com/HMP and the Dinger Zone and everything, they've been hearing about this for months now at this point.
And I'm proud to announce that, the decision has been made that I'm going to have the world premiere. So everyone who wants to see it can see it on YouTube. I'm having an actual premiere December 22nd at 8:00 Eastern time. But, it'll be available on demand anytime you want to watch it after that on YouTube. Once again, I really want people to come watch this. I really, really do. I know it's not perfect, but I enjoyed making it and I'm proud of it. And I just want people to check it out. And you can find it at youtube.com, then look for Bruce Leslie, look for Werewolf Fighter, look for Anime Dad, combine some of those things together. You'll find it. And please just watch it and let me know what you think.
Yeah, and link to Bruce's YouTube page is in the show notes as always. So go check that out. Scroll, hit the little button, and then boom, you're right over there in the YouTube watching his new stuff.
You're never too old to do something new. I'm an old man, but I made my first short film.
Hey, you never know where life will take you. Sean, where is life taking us next week on this podcast?
Oh, next week on HMP, here on the mothership, we are going to be reviewing one of the most superhero-y / Christmas movies ever made, Jingle All the Way, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So please tune in for that. We're going to be doing a scene-by-scene breakdown because, as it turns out, I have an awful lot to say about this movie.
This is going to be a big one, everybody. So, like I said, hang your stockings up there and everything. Hope real hard. And come Christmas Day, you can also jingle all the way on down here to HMP and listen to our review. That is it, everybody. Join us next week for Jingle All the Way. For Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portras. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Edie.